In the quiet village of Alara, there was a woman named Mara, known to everyone as Mara the chef. Her cooking was more than just food. It was like a warm embrace that could make anyone feel at home. She had a daughter, Lila, who was the sparkle in her eyes, the beat of her heart. But life took a harsh turn when Mara's husband died, leaving her to raise Lila all by herself. Even with the sorrow in her heart, Mara kept her food stall going, smiling through her pain, her kindness like sunlight on a cloudy day. Lila was a bright child, full of laughter and joy, and she loved her mother more than anything. They lived in a small, cozy house where every corner was filled with love. Mara's cooking brought joy to the village. People would gather around her stall, sharing stories, laughter, and the warmth of camaraderie. But one terrible day, everything changed. A young man, after eating at Mara's stall, suddenly became very sick, vomiting blood right there in front of everyone. The village was thrown into chaos, fear gripping their hearts. They whispered, they pointed, they accused Mara of poisoning him. In their anger and fear, the villagers did something unforgivable. They stoned Mara to death, right in front of her daughter. Lila, only 10, watched with wide, terrified eyes as her mother, her world, was taken from her. Her cries were lost in the tumult, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. The village, once a place of joy, now held only shadows and sorrow for her. After that day, Lila was sent to live with her Uncle Zane in another village, a kind man with a gentle heart. Zane and his family welcomed Lila, wrapping her in their love, trying to mend the shattered pieces of her heart. They gave her a new home, a new family, but the loss of her mother was a wound that never fully healed. Years passed, and Lila grew into a young woman of 18, her beauty mirroring her mother's, her spirit strong yet touched by sadness. One day, Uncle Zane, with eyes full of sorrow, told her the truth about her mother's death. It was all a terrible misunderstanding. Mara was innocent. This revelation was like a knife twisting in Lila's heart, the pain of injustice mingling with the relief of knowing her mother's true, kind nature. When Uncle Zane passed away, Lila felt the world tilt once more. Alone again, she decided to return to Alara, driven by a mix of nostalgia and the hope to reclaim her mother's legacy. She set up her own food stall, dreaming of the smiles it once brought. But the villagers remembered the tragedy, their eyes filled with suspicion rather than the warmth they once held for Mara. Lila's heart ached with each day that passed, her food stall quiet, her days lonely. One evening, as the sun set and despair clouded her mind, an old woman appeared, her eyes gleaming with something dark. She was a witch, offering a sinister solution to win back the hearts of Alara. With a heart heavy as stone, Lila followed the witch's advice, mixing her hair and a mysterious powder into her food. It felt wrong, but desperation whispered that it was her only way. To her astonishment, her stall became the center of the village again. People came, laughed, ate, and praised her cooking. Lila watched from behind the counter, her heart torn between joy for her success and guilt for the means she used. She built a large, beautiful house, but it echoed with the loneliness of a life lived in shadows. Then one night, the witch returned, her smile chilling. She demanded a price for her dark assistance, Lila's ability to have children. This demand cut through Lila like a cold wind. She had always imagined her home filled with the laughter of her own children, a dream now threatened. Tears streamed down her face as she stood in her grand, empty house, the weight of her choices pressing down on her. With a resolve born from love for her mother, for the life she wanted to live, Lila refused. She couldn't trade her dreams of family for this hollow success. The witch's eyes darkened, but Lila's decision was made. She would leave Alara, leave behind the big house, the business, the dark pact that had brought her this far. Lila packed her belongings, her heart heavy, but her spirit unbroken. She walked away from the village, her steps guided by the light of her mother's memory, by the hope of a life where she could find true happiness. She knew the road ahead would be hard, but she also knew she would find her way, perhaps to a new village, a new start, where she could cook with love, not fear, where she could one day build a family on the foundation of honesty and love. As she left, the village of Alara faded behind her, but the lessons of love, loss, and integrity walked with her. Lila carried her mother's legacy in her heart, not in the shadows of deceit, but in the light of truth. She walked towards an uncertain future, but it was her future, one where she could be herself, where she could find joy in the simple act of cooking, of living, of loving. And as she walked, she felt for the first time in a long while a glimmer of peace, a whisper of hope for what might come next.